The purpose of this demonstration is to introduce you to PenSpring and how it can help the ICS department in particular. PenSpring was started in January of 2011. 3,000 hours of direct development hours has been put in, not including the testing with publishers, basically user testing to ensure that it's doing what we wanted it to do. The most recent and most exciting discovery is that it will work with InDesign files and really streamline the entire process of translating documents. Here we see a diagram of 3 translators working on the same document. I'm going to click on this diagram, make it closer. We see that PenSpring then works sentence by sentence with an open editor. Next we'll see working with publishing. The latest discovery that PenSpring implements is uploading an InDesign file, which is very complex, how translation can be done, and then produces separate files, a whole set of separate files for each InDesign language that the editor then can just pick up, modify due to its length, and you're done. Here at this diagram we see that the open community of translators, oops, that's not the open community, this is the open community. The open community with volunteer contributors now facilitates our purposes where we have limited resources in foreign countries where the member translators are doing all the work. PenSpring will allow the open community to do the translation with our restricted, limited number of translators that are members to do the approvals to ensure that all is doctrinally correct as well as clean. So we'll be able to see that. So let's get straight in to PenSpring. I have 3 browsers with one author logging in right now, Audrey, and then the 2 other browsers with their sessions will be Andrew and Joseph. So we'll see how we work with them. Notice here we're going to upload a document. I've already saved that text to just type it in, not so I don't have to type it in, but this is Elder Richard D. Scott. We're going to upload a test file. This is a actual Word document, and notice how all of the formatting, including pictures, and we'll upload that. So including pictures, underscores, formatting, colors, everything is preserved right up into this web-enabled PenSpring, right to where we export it back with all the edits complete. So we're clicking on Elder Richard D. Scott's document we just put in. Oh, let's go look at that. Notice this is the Word document. Notice that please is underscored, in the mind and heart is italicized, and down here powerful and long-lasting influence for good is bolded. This will go through PenSpring with a translation, keeping intact all of the underlines, italics, and underscores. Did I already say that? Bold. Okay. So back to PenSpring. We see the document here. Say for example, well, we're not going to edit it here. This is the authors. So we're going to go over to Chrome where Andrew up here is logged in. He's an editor assigned to this document. Say that we want to change, for example, walk to stroll. So just in our open editor, that hit the database, saved. Notice the page didn't refresh, and we can see the track changes to the right side. So we still have track changes, but notice that our document is the width that the author intended, which will come into play with InDesign and how we're going to do hyphenation, and let the translators do hyphenation and not have to have someone who doesn't know the language to be working with the hyphenation. We're going to go now to Safari where Joseph is logged in. And he's going to change walk to run. And he jumps out. Now notice that even as he works with that statement as his cursors in that sentence. We can see on the right side Andrew's contribution with stroll. Joseph's is right there with run. Joseph can delete that. Or we could even click up here and edit Andrew's and make additional changes without having to redo any of the changes he did like. But notice then we're going to go back to Audrey, click on that sentence, and see how it's live with those changes without having to refresh the page. We see Andrew's stroll, we see Joseph's run. Now if I simply just accept Andrew's, we have stroll chosen automatically. She doesn't have to type it in. It's done. So this is the way that the author can work with the editors. There's not separate copies of the document out there being edited. Now let's consider this whole problem with InDesign. And notice, I already showed you how the underscore, the italics, and the bold works. But hopefully you can see that from your screen. There's the bold. So say that this has been done through Word, and now it's been put into InDesign. Now here is the big work that's been done already. The finishing editor has put this into InDesign with the header up here, Gospel and Teaching and Learning, with the notes there, and then this box down here with President Benson that is totally separate. PenSpring will now upload an InDesign document and bring it in, split up every single piece, and place it with the width that you see here so hyphenation can be done, and it'll put it straight back out. So let's see what happens with actual translation. Notice this message right here that the author was working on this sentence and updated it while Andrew was working on it. So we'll come up here and show that she chose this statement or entered in a new statement, and you can accept or even edit that one further. So there's a lot of collaboration going on live. So it makes like a rich client on the web. Let's change this to go to Russian. And apparently we've been working on it already, so we have Russian going. Similar now with how this works just live as I'm going right into the document. Notice that when that the translation is actually taking place. I can turn automatic translation on, and as I go to a new sentence, it will translate. Working down a little further where we haven't been yet. See, if my sentence went straight in there, it translated it. I'm moving around. Translates the next one. So now, as a translator, I don't have to type everything. I can go in, I can cut words out, I can make sure it's right, because this is a machine translation and we know they're not perfect. But now we have translations. I'm going to switch over to Safari where Joseph is waiting for us, and we're going to switch him to Russian up here as well. Come straight on in, and we have translations already going. Once again, as we enter in, we can see a translation that has been done, that's waiting. See when that actually comes up. Okay, so there's Andrew, and then Joseph have made translations, so we can agree with him, except for it doesn't allow you to agree if you've already put in your own sentence, so it manages that as well. But if you're going along, you can agree and disagree with translations. Okay, and if I don't like the auto-translate, I can turn it off, but it's helping me a lot as I'm going through these. Saves me a ton of time from typing. Now, one other great aspect that has been implemented with PenSpring already is that it will automatically discover a quote. I can't remember where that one is, but we should be able to show you that here at the end of this demonstration, that when I click on a sentence that is recognized as a quotation, from work that's already been translated in 100 languages or more, I'll be able to come over here to the right side, and instead of it just being someone's contribution, it will actually show that this was quoted from President Uchtdorf back in 1999, and I can actually click on that, and it will not only bring over my Russian translation, but it brings over all translations for all other additional translators out there. So when they get to that quote, it'll be locked, they can't change it, it's already been brought in from the library. And that should save many hours added up between translators, quote from quote. So let's go see what this looks like. Once this is all finished, we'll be showing you the reports as well in just a moment. We can then go to InDesign, we'll click on a button, the work's done, and the translation, oops, here we go. The Russian translation comes straight on in, and notice that the please is underlined, in mind and in the heart is italicized, and whatever that says, powerful, that phrase is bolded. And that's just that one simple section. PenSpring now will separately translate this box here with President Benson, and with once again with its width. So let's go take a look at the various reports that we're going to be able to see from PenSpring. This report here is just the English version, where we see here that so many edits have been done, there's a sentence count, and there's a word count. This is a little closer view of that. So notice the translation section will fill in just a moment. When we come to translation, we see that where are we at here? Let's see. Well, there's 1, 2, 3. There's 7 different documents we're looking at the same time. We see that the first face language is here. That the Golden Days document is done at 67%. Second phase is at 12%, and third is 0. So these are first phase languages, or the top languages such as Russian, Spanish, French, German, most likely. So let's drill down on the Golden Days and see that this first line here is all the first phase languages. We see 67% here, 12% down here on the second phase, and the third phase languages are 0% so far. So we see from the 67% that French is done at 55%, German's totally done, Italian is almost done, Japanese is done 100%, Portuguese is behind, Russian is very behind, and we have a due date of October 15th. So let's drill down a little farther to see that a little closer. We can see that on French there's 124 sentences that have been updated so far. Notice here that the sentence counts as 225, so that does show that it's 55% done. And there's 3 comments to look at, which can be interesting. We also have a word count. So now we're seeing much more control of being able to see where our documents are located. We have been interrupted. YouTube has a limitation of the length of an uploaded video. So please see PenSpring Live Demo Part 2.